Good evening, sir.
Yeah, good evening. Okay, so in today's class, we'll finish Esseloni properties of triangle, whatever is left, and we'll discuss any doubts from exercise 36 and some questions from exercise 37. That is what is important in Esseloni in chapter 15, basically. So,
Sir, my exercise 36 is tiny bit left. So what should I do about that?
finish it. What else will you do?
No, like we would be discussing doubts, right?
So, whatever doubts you have, you can ask. If you have not finished it before, then that's on you, no? You have to finish it. We'll be discussing doubts for whoever has doubts, whoever has done it.
Okay.
If you have not done it, you have to catch up. In theory, we'll be finishing in about centroid and, for example, circle center, and we'll be talking about the Euler line and some specific cases, some configurations that are important. So if there is any question from exercise 36, anybody has any doubts, you can ask. Especially in exercise 36, what you need to do is question number 5 to question number 22. That is what you have to attempt there. Uh, if there is any doubt, you can mention it right now. We can solve those. Has anybody tried any questions here and got any problems? Nobody has any questions. Okay, fine. I will just move on to the theory then. Nobody has any doubts, then it's fine. The first thing that we'll look at is centroid, the point, and information about the medians. So if you have a triangle ABC, the centroid is the point of intersection of the medians. So what are medians? Medians are points from each vertex to the opposite midpoint. That line is the median. This is the midpoint. Similarly, from here to the midpoint here, that would be another median. And from here to here, midpoint would be another median. All the medians are concurrent. We will prove the concurrency later when we do Cheva's theorem. But right now, it's fine. We'll assume that they are concurrent. Now, the key thing to realize here is that uh, each median is divided in the ratio 2:1 by the centroid. So if G is the centroid, what we know is that AG is to GD is equal to 2:1. And similarly, you have BG is to BGE. BG is to GE is also 2:1. And similarly, CG is to GF is also 2:1. So that is a very important thing to know, because this will help you get the coordinates of the median. So if you apply a little bit of coordinate geometry here, what you will realize is that A has x1 comma y1 coordinates, B has x2 comma y2 coordinates, and C has x3 comma y3 coordinates. And obviously D is the midpoint of B and C. Therefore, D's coordinates will be by section formula. You will get x2 plus x3 by 2 comma y2 plus y3 by 2. These are the coordinates of D, which is the midpoint of BC. And again, now that you know A and D, and you know the ratio is 2:1, therefore you can get G by a section formula again. So coordinates of G will be 2 times x of D, which is x2 plus x3 by 2, plus 1 time x of A, which is x1, divided by 2 plus 1. So this becomes actually x1 plus x2 plus x3 by 3. That is your coordinate of the centroid. And similarly, y of G will also come out to be y1 plus y2 plus y3 by 3. So the coordinates of the centroid can be obtained by a little bit of coordinate geometry and section formula if you know the fact that the centroid divides the median in the ratio 2:1. Now, homework for you guys is to prove by similarity probably, or any other way that you know, by similarity, that centroid divides the median in 2:1 ratio. Divides any median in 2:1 ratio. So that is homework, try that. Also, I have already sent the assignment 1, right? Assignment 1 will be discussed in the next class. Will be discussed.
Okay, sir.
Okay, sir.
You should do the assignment. There are 10 questions. We'll discuss them in the next class. Other than that, okay, so you should also try to prove that centroid divides the median in the ratio 2:1. Now, one thing that we need to know here, some more information about the medians, where we need to be able to find the length of the median and the angle that it makes with the base. So if A is like this, B is like this, and C is here, midpoint is here, D, I want to find out AD length, and I want to find out this angle alpha. So length of AD is what, and what is the angle alpha? So to do this, we will use a very famous theorem, Stewart's theorem. Does anybody know that? What is Stewart's theorem? Nobody knows Stewart's theorem, right?
Yes.
So this theorem we'll see today. So what is this theorem? This is a very nice theorem which gives us the length of any line drawn from the vertex to the side. Any line. So it is a very general theorem. Like this can be, this is my AD. And there is nothing special about this AD line, okay? It's not the median, it is not bisected, it could be anything, okay? So basically any line from here to here, like you can draw multiple versions, right? And D can be lying anywhere on this line, correct? In all cases, Stewart's theorem will help us find AD. So there are certain things that you need to know for that. The things that you need to know is how much is this length and how much is this length. So the overall length is obviously A. If you know by how much was this, BD was how much portion of A and CD was how much portion of A, right? Then Stewart's theorem will give you the answer. And the way we do it is this. So we'll prove the statement of Stewart's theorem now. So we'll say that if my angle here is theta, I will do cosine rule here. And let's say AD is called D. Okay. I'm calling this length AD as D, and that is what we have to find out, the D length, right? So if I do cosine theta in this triangle ABD, what is cos theta? By cosine rule, what is it?
M squared plus D squared minus C squared over 2MD.
By 2MD. And this angle is 180 minus theta, right?
Yes.
So what is
Yes, sir.
cosine of 180 minus theta in triangle ACD? That will come out to be n square plus d square minus b square by 2nd, right?
Yes.
And cos 180 minus theta by basic trigonometry is minus cos theta, right?
Yes.
So now what I will do is I will use cos theta from here and put it here. So I can say that m square plus d square minus c square by 2md and minus sign is equal to n square plus d square minus b square by 2nd, right? Correct. So then 2d will cancel, and what I have is this right now. I will cross multiply, so I'll get minus m square n minus nd square and n minus n into minus, so it is plus c square n is equal to n square m plus md square minus b square m, right? Correct.
Yes.
And then
Yes, sir.
I will bring all of the stuff into one side, and we will see what happens now. So you will get m square n plus n square m and plus nd square plus md square is equal to c square n plus b square m, right? I have brought this side and these two this side, right?
Yes.
So here I can take mn common, it is m plus n, and here I can take d squared common, it is m plus n. And here I don't have to take anything common, I'll just write it like this. And you have to realize that this was mn was bd, m was bd, n was cd. So m plus n is bc, right? M plus n is equal to a, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
So it will be this plus d square a is equal to c square n plus b square m. Now this equation is the Stewart's theorem statement. Obviously it's not convenient to remember this, so there is a nice rule for it. So nice way to remember it also, where you write it like this: man plus dad is equal to cnc plus bmb. So you should remember this part. Man plus dad is equal to CNC plus BMB. CNC plus bomb. BMB CNC. So you see the pattern. It is, if I have portion M here and N here, then the opposite side, you have to do BMB and CNC, right? Is equal to dad plus man. And dad is what? D square A basically. D is what we want, right?
Yeah.
And m n a b c will be given to you. So d square a plus m n a is equal to cnc plus bmb, which can be remembered using this. And once you know this, it is very easy to find specific situations of Stewart's theorem. So Stewart's theorem was giving us the length AD in any situation. Basically, AD could have been a random line with no special properties. But now we have special properties, like here AD was the median, right? Correct?
Mn would be equal to 1.
No, Mn will not be equal to
They would
1.
be equal.
M is equal to N is equal to A by 2, right?
Yes.
Correct. So this is not a ratio, this is the length, actual length, okay?
Oh, okay, sir.
It's not the ratio 1:1 or something. It's the actual length of the BD part and CD part, M and N. That's why we are saying that A is equal to M plus N, no? Right?
Yes, sir.
So here in this case, this is the situation. So I will use dad plus man. So DAD plus MAN is equal to CNC plus BMB. CNC plus BMB. So now DAD is fine. I will just write it as D square A. MN is AA by 2. So it is A cube by 4 is equal to CNC. C square N is A by 2 plus B square M into A by 2. So I can cancel A everywhere. It becomes A square by 4, A. So we get D square is equal to C square plus B square by 2 minus A square by 4, right? So D square is coming out to be C square plus B square minus 2A square by 4, correct? So the length of the median is becoming D is equal to half of root over B square plus C square minus 2A square.
Right, it should be 2b square plus 2c square, right?
Oh yeah, 2B square plus 2C square minus A square, right?
Yes,
You
sir.
understand, no? So basically in this specific case, we got the lengths very easily. We just need to know your Stewart's theorem and how it works. And how did we get Stewart's theorem? By doing cosine rule in this triangle and this triangle and noting that 180 minus theta cos will be negative of that, right? Correct.
Yes.
So remember Stewart's theorem result, and you can use it in different situations, like depending on what is required. Like, I mean, I will not do examples, but you know how to use it. You just have to learn what CNC means and BMB means. If you to put M here and N here, it will be M into this, correct? C this side, BMB into CNC, right? And the other side is dad plus man. D is this length, which is what you need to find. M and N are these lengths, right? So don't try to remember your median length formulas. Just use Stewart's theorem to get it whenever the question comes, right?
Okay.
Don't try to remember all formulas. Some things you should just derive when needed. So this is an example of something that you should not try to remember because it is easy to get confused in those formulas. Like which one is which median and all, right? This is the length of the A median. Now, obviously, if you remember it, it's fine. But if you don't remember it, you can derive it, right? So we have A, B, C right now, let's say, and this is my length D, and this is A by 2 and A by 2. Now you should easily be able to find out this angle alpha, right? How will we find out alpha angle? We'll choose sine rule in this triangle, right?
Yes, sir.
In this triangle, I know what stuff. I know this length is equal to C. I know this length, and I know I know this length also, right? Correct. And I know two angles. I mean, I have to find alpha, and I know this angle is B, right? So what I can do is D by sine B should be equal to C by sine alpha. That should be sufficient. I need to find alpha. So sine alpha will be C sine B by D, where D is by this, right? Correct.
Yes.
So by sine rule, I will be able to find alpha, no issues. So that is your article 214. Then we move on and we'll look at a very special property of the Euler line. Euler line. So this is the property that there is a special line which connects 3 special points of a triangle. So let's see which points. So there is one point is the altitude, or the orthocenter, point of intersection of the altitudes. So let's draw our orthocenter. So this is my orthocenter, right? Let's call it O for now. Okay. Then I draw the medians. Medians will be through the midpoint here, and one more midpoint is here, let's say. So I'm drawing medians now. So this point is my centroid, right? Let's
Yes.
call it G. And let's then draw the perpendicular bisectors. Perpendicular bisectors will be through the midpoint and perpendicular, right? And one more would be like this, right?
Yes.
So these are perpendicular bisectors. So this point will be circumcenter, right? Let's label it as C, and let's call this C dash for now. So we have O and we have G and we have C, right? And notice that it looks like they are collinear, and they are actually collinear. Like if you draw it properly using scale and protector and all, everything properly, then you will notice that these 3 points lie on a line. Like right now, roughly the figure was good, so it looks also collinear, right?
So is this the case always?
Yeah, always. Orthocenter, centroid, and circumcenter always lie on a straight line. Centroid and circumcenter always lie on a straight line. We will see the proof later. Right now, you don't know enough to see the proof. We'll look at the proof slightly later. But for now, you need to know the property though. Property is very useful. Same line. This line is known as the Euler line. Euler was a famous mathematician who first found this. So Euler line. And there is another nice result from here only. The result is that OG is to GC is again 2:1. So OG length, right, is to GC length is 2:1. The way you can remember it is like this. There is O, there is N, there is G, there is C. And ONGC everybody has heard of, right?
Yes. Sir.
ONGC is a company in India, oil and natural gas company, right? But in this case, we'll remember this as orthocenter, this as centroid, this as circumcenter, and N is what? N is 9-point center. 9-point center is again something that we'll look at slightly later. It's a little advanced. You don't need it for IOQM, but we'll look at 9-point center later and see the properties of that as well. But for now, don't worry about that. Just remember that there are 4 points on this line. There is another point here which we have not mentioned right now. That point is the N point, okay? Are you understanding what I'm saying so far?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
OGC are always on a line. There is actually another point on the line, and you can remember 4 of them, and it is ONGC. And notice that there is a 2 gap between O and G, right? O to N, N to G, right? And there is a 1 gap between G and C, right? If you remember ONGC like this, there is a 2 gap between this and a 1 gap between this, right? So OG is to GC is equal to 2:1. That is true. Okay. It turns out that the 9-point center N is the midpoint of O and C. So technically, the situation is a little more complicated. I just want you to remember that OG is to GC is 2:1, and 9-point center is the midpoint of O and C. So what is the actual situation? The actual situation will be like this: O, N will be here, G will be here, and C will be here. And this is equal to this, right? And this part is 2x, and this part is x. Are you understanding?
Yes, sir.
So nothing more you need to know right now. The proof of this n part and the 9-point center, I think he has done a brief proof here. Like, let's read article 215 and see if it makes sense. So he's saying, let O and P be the circumcenter and orthocenter. Can everyone see the figure? A, B, C triangle is there. Then he has found the orthocenter and the circumcenter, right?
Yes, sir.
For him, P is the circumcenter. P is labeled for you guys, right? In the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. So P is the orthocenter. I'm wrong, because notice that P is passing through an altitude. AK is an altitude, right? Correct.
Right.
And notice that OD is a perpendicular bisector. So O is what? O is the circumcenter, right? Correct.
Yes, sir.
So he's saying draw OD and PK perpendicular to BC, which makes sense. Now he's saying let AD and OP meet in G. So join A to D and join O to P, right? So they will have an intersection point somewhere, right?
Yes.
Join O to P, join A to D. So there will be an intersection point, and that intersection point is called, let's say, G. And we can prove that the triangles OGD and AGP are similar triangles. How can we prove that they are similar? Think about it and tell me. Why is OGD and PGA similar? One angle is obviously equal because it's vertically opposite. Angle OGD is equal to angle PGA, right? From the figure.
Yes, sir.
Vertically
Another
opposite.
two are perpendicular, so parallel lines.
Another two, OD and PK or AK, are perpendicular to the same straight line BC, right? So if two lines are perpendicular to the same straight line, then they must be parallel,
Yes.
right? So therefore it is parallel. So ODG is equal to GAP, right?
Yes.
So triangles are similar, right? Now think about it. You have OD length, you can find out very easily. Why? Because OD is the length of, like in a triangle, if you drop a perpendicular on a side from the circumcenter, right? Let's say circumcenter was like this here. This is my O, and this is A, this is B, this is C. When discussing sine rule, we had realized that this is R, right? And this is also R, correct?
Yes.
And
Yes, sir.
and since this angle is A, this total angle was 2A and this part was A, right?
Yep.
So obviously OD length is equal to R cos A, right? Right?
Yes.
The
Yes,
length
sir.
of the perpendicular from the circumcenter to the side will be R cos A. And notice that what is the meaning of AP? AP is distance of the vertex A from the orthocenter P, right?
Yes, sir.
And we have derived that when we are doing pedal triangles or orthic triangles, we know distance of orthocenter from the vertex. That was 2R cos A.
Yes.
So AP is 2R cos A, OD is R cos A. So similar triangles and ratio of similarity is 2:1, right? We had similar triangles OGD and PGA, right? And the ratio of the two similar sides OD and AP is coming out to be 2:1, no?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So if the ratio is coming out 2:1, that same ratio should exist for OG is to GP, right?
Yes.
GP should be double of OG, right?
Yes.
So by that simple argument, you can prove that the centroid, and notice that AD line is actually a median, right? Correct.
Yes, sir.
So it is a median, and we also know that AG by GD is 2:1 also, right?
Yes.
By the same similarity, we are getting that AG by GD is 2:1. So G is a point on the median which divides it in the ratio 2:1. So G must be centroid, right?
Yes, sir.
And also now you got that orthocenter to centroid is double of centroid to circumcenter, right?
Yes.
So which confirms what we have so far discussed, right? Makes sense.
Sir, so perpendicular drop from the orthocenter,
Hmm.
sorry, the circumcenter
Hmm.
passes to the midpoint of the sides.
Obviously, because perpendicular bisector is how you construct circumcenter, no?
Right.
How did you find O? You found O by drawing
Uh,
perpendicular bisectors, no?
yes, sir.
So OD must be perpendicular only, no?
Hmm.
And it must pass through midpoint because that is the definition. By
Definition, yeah.
that's how you would have constructed O in the first place, right?
Yes, sir.
So you're understanding this rule, no? This whole idea here. The proof is clear only here, just similar triangles, right?
Yes.
Okay. The next thing that we'll look at is a couple of derivations. 216 and 217 articles are a couple of very useful derivations, which is not important for the result. It is important for the method by which he has done it. So the question before us is find the distance between the circumcenter and orthocenter of any triangle. Find the distance between circumcenter and orthocenter. This is one question, and the second question is find the distance between circumcenter and incenter. Article 216 is this, and 217 is circumcenter and incenter. So first, let's think about this. So if you have a triangle here, ABC. So what I'm saying is, what is important is not knowing the answer. What is important is knowing how to do it yourself. Okay. So don't be like, I will just remember the answer and it's fine. Ultimately, in the exam, the question will not be the same, right? It will be slightly something else. You have to find that and you have to show your steps. Not in IOQM, but in any higher level exam, correct? So it is not enough to just mug up the answer. So make sure that you understand what we'll discuss right now. It's very important. So let's say we have to find distance between circumcenter and orthocenter. So obviously first we should find out where these are, right? So I'm drawing one altitude like this and one more altitude like this. This is my orthocenter, right? Okay.
Yes.
And let's draw circumcenter. So I have to take midpoint here, draw perpendicular bisectors. So one perpendicular bisector is like this, another midpoint here, draw perpendicular bisectors. So this is my circumcenter. For now, let's call circumcenter with P. Okay. Circumcenter is P, orthocenter is O for now. You can label it however you want. You want the distance between O and P, right?
Yes.
That is the question. The question is the distance between O and P. So in general, the principle is whenever you need some information, some length or some angle, some length or some angle in a geometrical figure, in a figure, try to think of that length as part of some good triangle, as part of some exclamation mark good. What do we mean by good triangle? Good triangle is a triangle where you know some stuff, right? So right now if you see OP length we need, but OP is hanging in air right now, right? It is not connected to anything. It's very weird. Correct?
Yes, sir.
It is not part of anything, right? So if I want to find OP directly right now, there is no way to even think about finding it. The way to do it would be, can we make OP part of some nice triangle, some triangle where we know some stuff? So one obvious way to do that would be to just connect A to O with line AO and join A to P, right?
Yes, sir.
Obviously, this is not unique. You can do join B to O and B to P also, right? And C to O and C to P also, right? I'm just joining it to A because it looks better, right?
Yes, sir.
At least right now, OP is now one side in triangle AOP, right? Correct.
Yes, sir.
Now, why is this useful? We still need to find X, but it is useful because there are things now that we can do here, because O to A is what? Orthocenter to vertex distance we know directly, right? We know the formula 2r cos A, right?
Yes, sir.
And circumcenter to A is basically circumradius, right? R,
Right.
correct? So in this triangle, we already know two things. We already know this side. We already know this side, right? Correct. And we
Yes.
need the third side. And to find the third side, it will be enough if we find out this angle, right? Because if I know included angle and two sides, then I can find third side by cosine rule, right?
Yes, sir.
Is everyone understanding?
Yes, sir.
So this angle is what we need now, which is also possible to do because I know orthocenter, I know this much will be 90 minus B. This is 90 minus B. And I will roughly join this here and realize that P was circumcenter. So this total angle was 2B, and therefore this portion was B, right? And this was 90. So you will realize that this is also 90 minus B, right? I hope everyone is following how I have found out this and this.
Yes, sir.
So that
Yes,
second
sir.
90 minus P can be done again.
This one is P is circumcenter, no? So angle APC is 2 times B, no?
Yes, sir.
So AP and this D will be just half of that. It will be B. And this is 90 because it is a perpendicular bisector. 90B, so this is 90 minus B, right?
Okay. Yes.
And overall angle here was A. So the middle angle is A minus 2 times 90 minus B, right? So
Yes.
this becomes A plus 2B minus 180, which can be written as A plus 2B minus 180 can be written as A minus B minus C, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So
sir.
this A cancels and you get B cancels and there's just B minus C. So this angle that we wanted is just B minus C. And two sides are also known now, 2r cos A and R. So we'll just do cos of B minus C will be equal to 4r square cos square B plus r square minus x square by 2r cos B, 2r cos A actually. So
A, right? Yeah.
it is A here, cos square A by 2r cos A into 2bc it is. So 2 into 2, so 4r square cos A, right? This is your cosine rule, no?
Yes, sir.
Once you have this, after that it's a matter of simplification. You can just simplify this. You have to use the fact that cos A is equal to minus of cos B plus C. Because cos A is 180 minus B plus C and 180 minus theta is minus cos theta. So You can check out the simplification that is given in the book. After this point, it is just calculations and all. So I will not worry about that. You can go through that yourself. The key idea here was to be able to realize that how to find this length. The finding of this length is easier if you put this length as part of some triangle. And we joined A to O and A to P to make a triangle which helps us solve the whole thing. Correct?
Yes.
In the same way, you can also attempt to find the distance between circumcenter and incenter. And we will see the brief thing there. We'll see the basic derivation. The simplifications and calculations I am not concerned about. What we are worried about here is how to approach these problems. So A suppose is here, B is here, C is here. I have to define distance between circumcenter and incenter. So first I'm drawing the circumcenter, and this will be somewhere here, let's say. This is my O, this is circumcenter here. O is circumcenter here. And let's say I want my incenter. So my angle bisectors have to intersect. So here like this and here like this. I is my incenter. This is equal to this. This is equal to this, right? I need to find out the length OI. That is the question. OI is being asked, distance between circumcenter and incenter. So obviously I will not try to find it like right now like this because it is hanging in air. What I will do is connect B to O and B to I. So I have a triangle BIO, right? Correct?
Yes.
Now in this triangle again, we know some stuff. First of all, we know B to O is going to be capital R, right? Because O is the circumcenter and O to B will be R, right?
Yes.
What is B to I? Let's think about B to I for a moment. If I have any arbitrary triangle and I is my incenter and this is B and I need to find out BI, I can drop a perpendicular from incenter to the side and that will be small r, right? Which is in radius, correct?
Yes, sir.
And this angle is B by 2 because it is an angle bisector. So you can say that sine of B by 2 is equal to small r by BI. So therefore, BI is equal to small r by sine B by 2, right? Correct.
Yes.
So BI length is also known. It is small r by sine B by 2. And this length is also known. Now all you need to do is find out this angle in the middle. Angle in the middle will be easy to find because we know overall this angle is equal to B by 2, which is because it is a bisector. And we know if I join O to C, I know this is also R and this much is A and this much is A, right?
Yes.
Correct. So
Yes, sir.
this small angle here, this much, will be 90 minus A. So what I have to do is find this angle, which is B by 2 minus 90 minus A. So it will be B by 2 minus 90 plus A, and 90 can be written as A by 2 plus B by 2 plus C by 2. So you can say minus A by 2 minus B by 2 minus C by 2 plus A. So it will B by 2 cancels and you get A minus C by 2, right? This middle angle. So now again, we have the angle, included angle, and we know the two sides. We know the side BI, we know the side BO. So it is easy to find X by cosine rule now, right?
Yes, sir.
So again, calculations are not so important here. You can check it out. You can see the final results that come, but that is not important. What is important is being able to think and do it yourself, like how we are discussing it right now. So that is your article 217. And then the last article is about bisectors.
Sir,
Hmm.
So should we also we should also substitute the value of r, right? Small r.
Small r formulas are already discussed in the last class.
Yes.
You should watch the video. Small r formulas are this.
Yes, sir. That I remember. So which one should we apply out of three?
See which one he's applying. He's applying this one, the one that I have written, because that is convenient in this case. In the book, the derivation is shown, no? So you can see he is applying this one only.
Yes, sir.
Whatever you apply, you will get the correct answer. It's just that he wants the answer to look in a particular form. So he is applying a certain formula. You can apply any formula, the answer will be same, no?
Yes, sir.
It may look different, but it is the same real thing, no? Same answer it is actually. Depends on the question which formula is useful, because in the question, if they give you all the angles, then obviously you should use this formula. If they give you something else, area of the triangle, you should not use this formula, right?
Yes.
So it depends on the question. Then one thing that we have to do is Article 218, which is length of angle bisector. So let's say we have a situation like this. We have A, we have B, we have C, and we have an angle bisector here. And this is D. And I want to find the length of AD. There are obviously two ways to do this. One way is by Stewart's theorem, right? Because AD is the length that Stewart's theorem tells us. We know this is a special line which is angle bisector. So one thing to know here is a basic property that you can prove by similarity, that any angle bisector divides the opposite side in the ratio of the sides containing them. So C is to B is this ratio. If this is an angle bisector, this side ratio is C, so this will also be C, and this side was B, this will also be B. Have you seen this property ever?
Yes, sir.
Line from the vertex to angle bisector line will cut the opposite side at a point which divides it in the ratio of the sides containing that angle. So if this was C is to B, then actual length C is to B is a ratio. So actual length could be CK and BK, right?
Yes.
Right. And CK plus BK will be equal to A, right? Correct. So therefore K will become A by B plus C, right? And therefore this length will be CK, which is CA by B plus C, and this length would be BK, which will be BA by B plus C, correct?
Yes, sir.
So now this length we know, this is your M and this is your N, right?
So
Correct.
Stewart's theorem you can apply.
So by Stewart's theorem, you can easily do it. It's just that the calculations will be slightly annoying, but it can be done. You have to find D. You can do it. C and C, B and B is equal to dad plus man. You know M and N, right?
Yes.
So that is one way to do it. Here he has done it by sine rule. So you can say that here he has done it by a slight trick. Okay, first he has found X as CA by B plus C and Y as BA by B plus C. And then notice what he's doing. It's a trick which is slightly faster than Stewart's theorem. So in this case, he is doing, if delta be the length of AD and theta be the angle that it makes with BC, right? Can you see the figure? Delta is the length AD, theta is the angle ADC. So in that, he's saying triangle ABD plus triangle ACD areas will add up to the overall area, right? Of triangle ABC, correct? Right. So
Yes.
triangle ABD area would be half into C into delta. So any triangle's area, how can you write? You can write it as half into two sides. into included angle sine, right? Half BC sine. Do you know, have you guys seen this formula for area of triangle? Half
Yes,
BC
sir.
sine
Yes,
A.
sir.
Okay, so any two sides and included angle, the sine of that, right? That is the way to write area of any triangle. So he is taking for triangle ABD, he's saying half into AB into AD into sine of A by 2, right?
Yes, sir.
AB is C, AD is delta. So half C delta sine A by 2 plus for ACD he will do half B delta sine A by 2 because A by 2 is being bisected. That's why should be equal to half into B into C into sine A, right? Correct. So
Yes.
obviously now it is very easy to eliminate delta here. Delta can be taken common, half cancels throughout, and you have BC sine A by B plus C sine A by 2, right? Correct.
Yes.
And sine A by sine A by 2 will give you a 2 cos A by 2 because double angle formulas you can say. Sine A is equal to 2 sine A by 2 cos A by 2. So sine A by 2 will cancel and 2 cos A by 2 will be left on top, right?
Yes.
So you will end up getting that length delta is coming out to be 2 BC by B plus C cos A by 2, right? Correct.
Yes.
So that is the second way to do it. There is a third way to do it also. Third way is simple sine rule in this triangle. In ABD, you can do sine rule, right? We know this is A by 2, this is B, right? And we know this is CA by B plus C. We know this is C, we know this is D, right? D is what you need. So you can say D by sine B is equal to CA by B plus C by sine A by 2, right?
Yes.
And you can multiply it like this. And you can say D is equal to C sine B into A by B plus C sine A by 2, right? Correct.
Hmm.
And A sine B can be written as B sine A. Why? Because A by sine A is equal to B by sine B, right? So clearly A sine B is B sine A, no? So instead of A sine B, you can write B sine A. It becomes CB sine A by B plus C sine A by 2, which is the same thing that we got there also, right? In the area for method. You'll get this as 2 cos A by 2, right?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
So there are multiple ways to do this. You have Stewart's theorem, you have sine rule, you have area method. The only thing you need to know is realize that because this is angle bisector, we can find out BD and CT. This is a nice trick that you should be aware of. It will be in the ratio C is to B. So you can say it is CK and BK, add it, you'll get K. K is A by B plus C. Therefore, this much is C into K, which is CA by B plus C, and this is BA by B plus C. Right? So,
Yes.
Yes, sir.
so that is your theory of properties of triangle and all. What I want you guys to do is exercise 37, 36 as much as you can and assignment 1. Assignment 1 I have sent. Assignment 1 mostly deals with similar triangles because it is a very important topic which you need to be familiar with. So mostly it will cover similar triangles concepts, and this is properties of triangle stuff. The more you can do in 37 and 36, 37 you should try everything till question number 25. After that you can ignore for now, but till question 25 you should try. And in 36 you should try question 5 to question 22. Okay,
Yes, sir.
so attempt these 3 things. Next class we'll be doing just problems, no theory in the next class. We'll do problems from this, this and this. Okay. Yeah.
Sir.
Hmm.
Sir, can you tell that area of triangle formula again?
Which one? Half BC sine A.
Yes, sir.
It's very easy. You have suppose A, B, C. This is A. This is B, this is C. So think of think of A as the base. Area of the triangle will be half into base into height, right?
Yes.
Half into A into H is area, right?
Yes.
And H is what? H is C sine B, no?
Yes.
So you're getting half AC sine B. C, A, an included angle, right?
Okay.
Similarly, if I want to do BC1, I can take B as the base. So other altitude will be like this, right?
Yes.
So it will be half into B into this altitude, and this altitude is C sine A,
C
right?
sine A. Yes.
So that is how you get half into two sides into whatever is the angle between them, that sine, right?
Okay. Yes.
Okay, so next class, just try to do as many problems as possible from 37, 36 and assignment 1. We'll be discussing those. Okay. Okay, that's all for now. I'll see you guys.
Thank you, sir. Good night, sir.
Thank you, sir. Good night.
Bye.
Thank you, sir.